Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabansi. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the DREAMERSPRO show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we have a hell of a show in store for you guys. Before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. So yesterday, we produced a show that was centered on a back and forth that took place on ESPN First Take between Stephen A. Smith, Molly Qerim, and Shannon Sharpe. Essentially what they were talking about was Caitlin Clark and how, she's playing better at this particular point in the WNBA season. And towards the end of that segment, Stephen A. Smith decided to point out to Molly Qerim that, look, I tried to tell you guys. She was going to be a great player. She's going to be sensational and all of those things. And just to quickly tell you what her stat line is, this season, she's averaging 18.7 points per game, 5.6 rebounds, 8.4 assists on 42.4% shooting from the field, 34.1% shooting from the three-point line, 89.7 from the free throw line, and she's getting about 5.5 turnovers a game, which is actually very, very high. But I don't know. I don't follow the WNBA much, so I don't know who are some of the players that have a lot of high turnovers to be able to contrast it. I don't know if she's just an outlier and people average around 3, or she's fit 3 and another's a 4. I don't know. But anyway, those are her numbers. So Stephen A. Smith was singing her praises. In the midst of that, he ended up calling out Molly Qerim, and then Molly Qerim tried to basically walk back her statements. And then Shannon Sharpe, he got triggered and he started calling out Molly, and they had this back and forth where they were all kind of going back and forth with one another. And it was a pretty entertaining segment and show we produced because a lot of people tuned in to watch it yesterday. So what happened? After we had produced that show, I came across a clip from Stephen A. Smith's channel, the Stephen A. Smith Show on YouTube. And on his channel, he was responding to some comments that former WNBA player Sheryl Woods had made about him. And apparently she was going on various news publications or podcasts or whatever it was, and she was pretty much going off on him. And he decided to call her out and respond to her for some of the things that she was saying. And he responded in some strong comments. But really, we got to go back to where all of this started, right? And all of this really kicked off during a segment that took place on ESPN First Take with Molly, Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharpe, and Monica McNutt. And in that segment, Stephen A. Smith was basically saying that the WNBA should continue to promote Caitlin Clark. They should be open to constantly promoting her because she's going to be the cash cow for that league, given the fact that she brings in record number eyeballs and attendance, the numbers, people coming to the arenas to watch these WNBA games. So she said that they should have been, making a more concerted effort to continue to promote her. And then towards the end of the segment, Monica McNutt blindsides Stephen A. Smith, and she goes, well, to be fair, you yourself and platforms like this could have done a better job covering the WNBA, and maybe they would have a little bit more promotion. And it was something that kind of set off Stephen A. Smith and was blindsided, and became this week-long conversation, and various people were kind of chiming in from different parts of the country and weighing in on this particular subject. So these are the comments that we want to focus on. But before we even get into what Stephen A. Smith had to say, today's video is brought to you by our sponsor, Game Time. With only 4 months left in 2024, I'm really looking forward to making memories with my family and attending different games and concerts and theater shows this year. And so when it comes time to finding the most affordable tickets for these shows and events, I love using Game Time. Game Time is one of the most reliable marketplaces for last-minute tickets to the most popular events in sports, music, and theater in more than 60 cities across the United States and Canada. Game Time already analyzes thousands of tickets for all of your favorite events near your location and finds you the best possible deal so you don't have to. For example, I'm looking forward to this upcoming concert at Madison Square Garden of one of my favorite composers, Hans Zimmer. Here I can select the all-in price to see the total ticket price up front, no hidden fees. And now I can sort through the best possible deals I can find. I can choose the cheapest deals, the great deal, or the amazing deal. Once you select the ticket you want, you can use their panoramic seat view to ensure you know exactly what you're getting before you buy. And if you're like me and always make plans at the last minute, you can grab tickets up to 90 minutes after the event has started. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and use redeem code CLNS for $20 off. And remember, whenever you support this sponsor, you're supporting this channel. Thank you. So what we'd like to do now is like to play the original back and forth that took place on ESPN First Take, and then we're going to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to them there.
We all agree that this play was unacceptable, but in general, this is still competition.
That's my biggest mistake. You're right,
Shannon
guys.
ain't gonna
is that
say
I
it.
look
Maybe
at other people as I see myself.
Shannon ain't.
Oh my God.
Go ahead,
Shannon
Stephen
ain't
A.
gonna say it, but Shannon ain't gonna say it, but I'm gonna say it. The word is resentment, and I'm talking about what I feel about this whole conversation. Nobody said all. Nobody painted the WNBA with a broad brush. We're talking about a young lady that has come into the sport and is contributing to the financial backbone of the WNBA and simply imploring everybody to see the big picture and how it serves to benefit the whole. And because we brought that up, it's turned into a conversation with resentment, jealousy, whatever. I'm saying, the resentment is legit, but it's also justified if you've been in the league busting your tail to help uplift it, and then somebody comes along and before they play one game, you're labeling them the savior. A lot of people, a bunch of men would feel resentment towards that too. But we bring it up here, and all of a sudden we got to safeguard and couch every little syllable when we're talking about competition and we're talking about the league and we're talking about revenue and money and how everybody wants to get paid. What's the maximum salary in the WNBA, Eminem? Isn't that like 241,000 or something like that? Is that
it's
the
like
number?
250.
250, right?
Yeah.
$250,000. These girls are stars. They're doing commercials now. They're going to be making dollars upon dollars on Madison Avenue, and they deserve it. We're talking about them maximizing their great potential. And because we bring that up and talk about what potentially might get in their way, which we do to men all the time, now we got to sit up here and watch every syllable. I resent that, and I'll leave it at that.
All right, so let me. I know we got to go to break. Welcome to the world of being a woman, Stephen A., and how you have to dance about your word choice and you have to please everybody and anybody as you navigate your being. We are talking about the world's greatest
How about being a black man?
Being black.
Hold on 1 second.
Have you?
So this is what I'm saying to y'all, though, and I know we got to go to break, and we didn't necessarily go there. Maybe we should. There are so many layers in this conversation around the way that it's being discussed. No. And yes, Shannon, I know y'all are going to say and Stephen A., I know you just shared that you have talked about the WNBA on your program too. You guys may not have said everybody, but the prevailing sentiment for folks that are just joining the WNBA and following women's sports is unfair to the women of this league, to your point, who have laid the groundwork for Caitlin Clark to come in and now take it to the next level. That's all I'm saying in these conversations. Kennedy Carter's behavior is not indicative of the entire league. We are still talking about competition where you are allowed to get a little extra elbow in if you are competing and you do it within the parameters of the game. The game is physical. Caitlin is helping to grow the league. These women understand that, but she cannot be babied as a rookie. That's all I'm at.
All right.
Who talks about the WNBA? Who talks about women? Who talk about women's sports more than First Take?
Stephen A., respectfully, with your platform, you could have been doing this 3 years ago if you wanted to.
Wow.
All right, we got to go to you guys.
So did you say
you're my guy, but
who does more than
Stephen
us?
A., I'm talking to you.
Wow.
Don't do that. I'm talking to you about the power that you have.
Okay.
I'm talking to you.
Okay.
All right, let's,
I got it.
You're my guy, but I'm talking to you.
I got it.
Guys, I really appreciate
you're my girl, but you've missed a lot of episodes of First Take. You missed a lot.
Stephen A.,
Guys,
3 years ago, you would not talk about the W at this level. Don't do that.
Guys,
Nobody was, Monica.
Guys,
You making Stephen A's point, Monica. Monica, you making Stephen A's point.
Please let me do my job. Please let me do my job. We've gone for 40 minutes straight. It was a riveting discussion. I have to get into commercial break.
So you heard the initial exchange, right? So since then, time has gone on. They've had arguments of why she wasn't on the Olympic team. You know, people were advocating for that. Shannon Sharp, Stephen A. Smith, they're like, she should have been on that team. Given the fact that there were tens of millions of people tuning in every day to watch the Olympics, the Paris 2024 Olympics, that would have been good. It would have been a good place for the WNBA to push the sport forward, given how well she's playing now. And that's been the conversation. So in the midst of that, Stephen A. Smith goes on the show yesterday and decides to respond to Sheryl Swoopes and some of the things that she was saying about him. And he really didn't hold back, and he doubled down on his position. So those are the comments that we want to play for you now, and I want to come back and give you guys our closing thoughts on this entire exchange. Take a listen to Stephen A. Smith here.
We know what she did at the WNBA All-Star game. They averaged like 3.4 million viewers on ABC. That All-Star week. I mean, come on now. This is Caitlin Clark. This is the Caitlin Clark effect. And so it's time for everybody to stand down. It's time for everybody to admit, Stephen A., you were right. You were right, Stephen A. Caitlin Clark should have been on Team USA. Should have been on Team USA. And we also write about the fact that there's been some haterade being thrown in her direction. Okay? Because there's no excuse to have resentment towards her. And see, we don't want to address the big elephant in the room, but we ain't going to run from it today because Sheryl Swoopes made news. Now, she made news last week when she sat up there and was applauding Indiana Fever players, but then forgot to mention Caitlin Clark. She jumped all in my ass because I sat up there and said, hey, how you going to ignore Caitlin Clark? You know what she brings to the table. How you just going to ignore her? That's not an accident. Sheryl Swoopes is a champion. A champion. Look at her tweet and what she put up about me. You talk about whomever and whatever you want to on your podcast, correct? So why can't I? Also, did you listen to the entire episode? Nope. I have a personal relationship with these players, and they deserve recognition as well. That ain't the point, Sheryl Swoopes. Yes, I did listen to your entire podcast. You didn't mention Caitlin Clark. So I was right, number one. Number two, your personal relationship, what that got to do with your coverage? Ain't nobody said don't mention them. Ain't nobody said don't applaud them. Nobody told you to ignore them. What we're saying is if you're going to give the Indiana Fever all the credit in the world, how you going to mention the Indiana Fever without Caitlin Clark's name even coming up? So then after that, Sheryl Swoopes engages in levels of immaturity. There's no way to slice it. I'm not going to insult this champion, this great basketball mind, this phenomenally accomplished Hall of Famer. I'm not going to insult her. All I'm going to say is it was pretty damn immature to come back at me like that. Called me an effing coward because I called you out for not doing your job. So you on a podcast, that means you don't have to do your job? I mean, the bottom line is this. She engaged in a level of immaturity. Let's just call it what it is. I mean, to just bite at me like that. Oh, why? Because what did I say? What did I say? You want to know what I said? Take a look at what I said last week about Sheryl Swoopes. Respectfully, Sheryl Swoopes, you have any idea how that makes you look? You have any idea how that serves to stain any kind of critique of Caitlin Clark, because that gives fodder to those who believe she's being hated on and ostracized to some degree. Do you realize that, Sheryl Swoopes, you're insane to do that? Let me tell you why you're insane to do that. Because Sheryl Swoopes, you're one of the greatest players ever in the history of basketball. That's why. See, you won a championship in college at Texas Tech. You won 3 Olympic gold medals. You won 4 WNBA championships. You know basketball. You know basketball better than me. You know basketball than any of the pundits. You know basketball better than most of the men that play basketball. There is no way in hell you just accidentally left Caitlin Clark's name out of that soliloquy that you dropped about the Indiana Fever. Stop it. You know that. Stop it. I mean, listen, the bottom line is this. There's a whole bunch of reasons that I'm quite sure Sheryl Swoopes can come up with. Who can imagine that she's got stuff on her mind? Lord knows what she's got on her mind and what she wants to express. I get all of that. People can speculate till the cows come home about what that is. But one thing that's undeniable is that she seems to get offended with her objectivity being questioned, her professional objectivity. The problem is she's the one that brought her professional objectivity into focus by her own behavior. What possible excuse could you have talking about the Indiana Fever and nary a mention of Caitlin Clark. How is that possible? How's that possible? You know what Indiana was before she arrived. You know what their attendance was before she arrived. You know what merchandise sales was before she arrived. You know what attendance was before she arrived. You know what the ratings were before she arrived. How could you not mention her? It makes no sense. So I can understand why Sheryl Swoopes would have an attitude with people who would question her professional objectivity. But I also understand why people would look at her like she's lost her ever-loving mind. Because you're literally putting the lack of professional objectivity on display for audiences to see, and then you're looking at us acting like what's wrong. It's like you spitting in people's face telling them it's raining. Makes no sense. Makes no sense.
So you heard what everyone had to say there. Look, the truth of the matter is, Caitlin Clark is something unlike anything the WNBA has experienced. This young lady is literally going out there and breaking records. To give you guys the most recent one, she set a record. She set a record for attendance this year. More than 500,000 fans have watched Caitlin Clark's record-shattering rookie season in person, setting a new highest attendance high for the WNBA. We cannot gloss over a figure like that. And I think that that's what Stephen A. Smith is doing. Now, I think what's irking him is that it seems to him at least, that he's the only one that seems to notice this and the importance of it. He's sitting there, and I think Shannon Sharpe has a similar position, which is you guys, in this case referring to the WNBA, has been complaining about not getting enough recognition, not getting enough support. You saw Lisa Leslie when she was there talking on the shop with Draymond Green saying she wished the NBA would support him, and then Draymond got upset. He's like, we already support you and all of that. WNBA players have been complaining that they want support, that they would like to make more money and make better money. This is something they have been lamenting for years now. And here you have a unicorn walk through the door in Caitlin Clark, who is literally carrying the league on her back in terms of popularity. Not the best player, none of that. We're just talking about the eyeballs that she's bringing to the sport. You guys have something like this, and you're finding ways to screw it up. You're finding ways to screw it up by nitpicking this, looking for this issue, looking for that issue. And to him, it is something that he frankly doesn't understand. I believe is the same thing that Shannon Sharpe doesn't understand. As a matter of fact, I think there are a lot of people that don't understand this resistance towards her, when the data shows that a lot of people enjoy watching her. We have never discussed the WNBA ever. Matter of fact, it's something I have never paid attention to up until this year. Caitlin Clark has been a contributing factor to that. Angel Reese as well, but more so Caitlin Clark. So to him, number one, he seems to not understand these people. Number two, he's not backing down from his position. And number three, I don't think he should. I think that if you have a position and you're willing to explain it and articulate it, you shouldn't be bullied into taking another view because somebody thinks that, oh, you should have. No, everybody, to me, look, everyone should be able to express how they really feel on any given subject. And we don't all have to agree on things. We're not monolithic here. If you have a particular view and you feel it's the truth and you're willing to stand for it, then defend it. And if you feel differently than the other person, defend it. Where we go wrong is where we start saying you need to feel that that's something I just cannot advocate, something I cannot support. So to me, look, if Stephen A. Smith believes what he believes, 100%. If he feels like he needs to respond to what Sheryl Woods had to say, more power to him, right? Everybody has a right to defend themselves. And to me, I have absolutely no issue with it. So the question to the audience is simply this: whose side are you on here? Are you on Sheryl Woods' side or are you on Stephen A. Smith's side? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. We catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.